Hello everybody, Trevor here. This one was requested by Aarav Dhond. Sorry if I mispronounced your full name. And that would be my top 5 international engines in Thomas and Friends. In the Thomas series, there are a lot of Thomas characters that are not on Sodor, whether they be from America, which is my country by the way, China, India, Brazil, and of course, Russia. But for this list, I only want to include those that first appeared in the Great Race. So I'm not going to include any of the new characters from Big World Big Adventures, whether it be Nia, Hanmei, Lorenzo, and sadly, no Bo. Trust me, I wanted to include Bo on the list, but he only appeared in Big World Big Adventures unnamed. And as I stated earlier, I only want to include those who appeared in the Great Race, which happens to be a good movie in my personal opinion. Now without further ado, let's begin. Number 5, Gina. Gina is an Italian tank engine who competed in the shunting competition along with Thomas, Ashima, Raoul, and Ivan. She is also one of the only few new girl characters to appear in the Great Race. What I like about her is that she reminds me of a female Percy because of her green coat of paint, and I can imagine her being a mentor to Percy if they ever decide to make a sequel to the Great Race, which I'm sure won't happen, but you get the idea. As for her voice actress, I think both Teresa Gallagher and Anna Franciolini did a perfect job with Gina's voice. I honestly don't care who's better than the other, as long as it suits the character well. That's all that matters. Another interesting fact about Gina is that she's one of the only few Great Race characters to appear in wooden railway form along with Ashima, Frida, and Vinnie, which is sad because I honestly would have loved to see the other Great Race characters in wooden railway form, especially Yongbao and Rajiv. But oh well, you know what they say, beggars can't be choosers. Back to Gina. Another thing I like about her is that she's sweet and stylish and can match the boys pound for pound when it comes to shunting trucks in the yard. Though she can get irritated easily when other engines like Thomas imply that she huffs and puffs. But other than that, she is loyal and caring, and will always set grudges aside so that she can help her friends. Oh, and did you know that Gina was originally going to be an FS electric locomotive instead of a tank engine? Yeah, I can totally understand the change at the last minute because we already have an electric locomotive in the movie, and that's Etienne. And furthermore, they needed at least one more shunting locomotive in the shunting competition, so therefore I'm glad they changed her into a steam tank engine. Number 4 is Yongbao. Yongbao is a Chinese tender engine who took part in the Best Decorated Engine competition in the Great Railway Show along with Carlos, Rajiv, Emily, and James. He is a kind and faithful engine and pulls passenger trains. I like this character a lot, especially his backstory in Yongbao and the Tiger, where he told the story of how he got his tiger emblem and a brand new coat of paint. In that episode, he was originally painted navy blue and was teased by the other engines. Later, Yongbao acted as a hero by saving one of his bullies from a terrible accident, and because of that, he was rewarded by the Chinese railway inspector a new coat of paint and an emblem. And that's why Yongbao and the Tiger is the best Chinese-based episode in Big World Big Adventures. But we're not done with him just yet. Let's talk about his voice actors. Dan Lee and Chris Lu Kum Hoi, sorry if I mispronounced that. I think they both did an excellent job voicing the character, not just because they're both Asian, but also suit the character's kind-hearted personality very well. I think it's better than having a white person like Rob Schneider giving him a stereotypical Chinese accent, otherwise it'd be racist. However, if there's one Chinese-based episode that I happen to hate the most, it would be Thomas and the Dragon because not only it contradicts the continuity of the Season 3 episode, Thomas, Percy, and the Dragon, but they didn't even bother bringing back the original yellow Chinese dragon from the model series, which is a huge disappointment in my book because I would have loved to see the original Chinese dragon again just for a little visual fan service. Overall, Yongbao may not be the biggest or strongest character like Hero, but he's still one of the best international engines in all of Thomas history. Number 3 is Shane. Shane is an Australian streamlined tender engine who works as a tour guide in the outback. Although he is a friendly giant and likes to crack jokes sometimes, but sometimes he doesn't listen to advice like in Laid Back Shane, which I'll get to in a little bit. In the Thomas franchise, he has more than one voice actor. He first spoke in the Shark Escape web short, though it's currently unknown who voiced him at that time. Then in the Aussie football series, he was voiced by Matthew Richardson. And finally, in the CGI series, he was voiced by Shane Jacobson, who has the same exact first name as his character. Oh, and Tim Bain also voiced him once in some short. In my opinion, I think they all did a decent job with the character, but if I were to pick one from my own fan-made voice cast, I'd choose Shane Jacobson because they both have the same exact first name as I said before. If I had to pick my least favorite Australian episode, it would have to be Laid Back Shane because for one small, teeny tiny little problem. His friends say that he needs coal to keep his steam up, when in real life he's actually an oil-burning engine like Frida, Victor, and even the logging frickin' locos. How could Mattel mess this up? Oh, and here's a fun fact. Shane's nickname, Whispering Giant, was a real nickname for his class of engine in the South Australian Railways. Because of their long boilers, the real Whispering Giants require blower assistance to stop them from blowing smoke into the cab, therefore making them seem to quietly whisper. Number 2, Vinnie. You may remember in my top 10 favorite Thomas villains video that I put this character as the number 3 best Thomas antagonist in the show. What I like about this character is that he's from the USA. Well, technically Canada, but I personally don't mind some Canadian locomotives having American accents, especially New York. Because Canadian and American accents are so similar that I usually can't tell them apart very well. As stated in that particular video, he is a mean bully and likes to pick on poor little engines like Philip, not to mention that John Schwab does a perfect impression for the character. Another interesting thing is that not only he's the secondary antagonist in The Great Race, but also made a brief cameo in Big World Big Adventures the movie. It's quite a shame that he never spoke again in the show, nor did he return after the last movie by Mattel Television. I mean, I would have loved to see him again as a recurring antagonist. Before I get to my number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Carlos. He only appeared a couple times in CGI. First in The Great Race, and lastly Big World Big Adventures the movie. I kind of would like to see this character more often in the show, but sadly that's never going to happen now. Etienne. One thing I like about Etienne is that he's one of the only few electric engines in the show's official canon, but the reason he didn't make it on the list was because he only appeared in The Great Race along with some non-canonical web shorts such as the one where he's with Axel of Belgium. Ivan. He only had at least one line in The Great Race, and that was points. Unfortunately, he never returned in the Big World Big Adventures series. I mean, I would have liked for him to return, but with a new voice actor from Russia, or maybe even Neil Crone, because after all, Neil Crone gave Diesel Lieutenant a Russian accent once, so maybe that might work for Ivan. Raoul. He would have been number 5 because for some strange reason, he didn't return until season 23 because in the movie, he was temporarily replaced by this knockoff character who was voiced by Gabriel Porras. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm glad they brought back the real Raoul in season 23 because I really didn't understand why they had to retexture him in the movie but with an added mustache. And the number 1 best international engine is Ashima. Ashima is one of the greatest and most beautiful new girl characters not only in The Great Race, but in the entire show, period. Not only she's beautiful on the outside, but on the inside too, just like Ashani from Disney's Planes. In The Great Race, she acts as a mentor to Thomas and tells him that he can only be himself when it comes to the Great Railway Show, which also makes her a great role model. In addition, It was originally stated that the international engines like her are only going to appear in the Great Race, which sounds very sad and disappointing in my book, but thankfully most of them returned in Big World Big Adventures. One of my favorite Indian-based episodes was Thomas Goes to Bollywood because of one scene, and that would be the dream sequence where Thomas saves Ashima from falling off a broken bridge. I'll eventually make a top 5 favorite dream sequences video, but not right away. Back to the dream sequence. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I love this scene where Thomas saves her from an accident, although I do think the 2 lines at the end should have gone like this. Thomas the Tank Engine! You're my hero! And then Thomas going, I'm just being really useful, babe. Yeah, I thought I would have spiced this scene up to make it even more special, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers. And yes, I am one of those people who likes to ship Thomas and Ashima as a couple. Don't judge me. And lastly, Tina Desai does a perfect job voicing the character, and I'm very thankful that she reprised her role in the Big World Big Adventures era. And those are all the reasons why I think Ashima deserves the #1 spot as the best international engine in the Thomas franchise. Now tell me in the comment section below on which of these international engines are your favorite. Do you like them all, or do you have your own personal preference? And it doesn't have to be those from the Great Race, it can be the ones in Big World Big Adventures too. As for my next video, normally I like to do Thomas videos, but I want to go back to one of my all-time favorite gaming franchises just this once because I don't want my channel to get too stale. This is Trevor Davis, signing off.